If you've ever walked into a Brazilian bakery in the late afternoon, you know the feeling before you even taste anything: the warm air, the glass case glowing under soft lights, and that familiar little mountain of golden snacks waiting like they've been there your whole life. And right in the center of it all, almost always, is the coxinha. It's not a special occasion food in Brazil. It's everyday joy. It's what you grab with a coffee, what shows up at birthday parties, what you eat standing up on a sidewalk while the city moves around you. Today I'm taking you into my kitchen to make what I call a truly perfect coxinha, crisp, deeply golden on the outside, with a creamy shredded chicken filling inside that tastes like comfort food, but with that unmistakable street food magic. And I want to do this calmly, step by step, so you can actually see what matters and what doesn't. Because the truth is, coxinha isn't complicated. It just has a few secrets that change everything. The first one is in the dough. A lot of people treat the dough like plain starch and flour, like it's just there to hold the filling. In Brazil, we do better than that. We build flavor from the beginning, using chicken broth so the dough itself tastes savory and rich, not bland. When you bite into a great coxinha, the crust and the dough aren't just texture, they're part of the flavor. And then there's the filling. The mistake I see all the time is dry chicken, like someone shredded it and forgot it needs to feel luxurious. Coxinha filling should be moist, creamy, and seasoned in a way that tastes like it's simmered with care, even if you made it on a regular weekday. Before we start, tell me in the comments, what's your biggest curiosity about Brazil? Food, music, daily life, traditions. I'd love to know what pulls you in. And if you enjoy recipes that come with real cultural context, subscribe naturally here, because this channel is going to feel like a warm stop in Brazil, one dish at a time. Now, let's begin with the broth, because that's where the coxinha really starts. If you've ever walked past a Brazilian bakery in the late afternoon, you know that smell I'm talking about: warm dough, something savory in the air, and that quiet little promise that whatever you're about to bite into is going to make the day feel easier. Coxinha lives in that space. It's not fancy food, it's everyday comfort, but it has its own kind of magic. So let's start where the flavor really begins: the broth. This is the small secret that makes coxinha taste like coxinha. I cook chicken with aromatics until the kitchen smells like home, then I strain and save that golden broth like it's liquid gold. And here's the part people skip and then wonder why the dough tastes flat: the dough is born in that broth. When the flour hits the hot, seasoned liquid, it's like the dough is already getting a head start on flavor. You're not just making a wrapper. You're building the whole snack from the inside out. As the dough comes together, it turns into this smooth, warm mass that pulls away from the pan, almost like it's telling you, okay, I'm ready. I keep stirring until it looks glossy and cohesive, then I let it rest. That pause matters. It's like letting the dough catch its breath so it won't tear later when we shape. Now, the filling. I want you to picture a good coxinha bite: the crust cracks, the dough is tender, and then the chicken inside is creamy, not dry or stringy. That's the goal. I shred the chicken while it's still juicy, then I bring it back to the pan with onion and garlic until everything smells sweet and savory. And I keep it moist on purpose. A little broth goes back in. The filling shouldn't crumble, it should hold together softly, almost like it wants to melt. If you're enjoying this so far, give the video a quick like, it really helps. And tell me in the comments, what's your biggest curiosity about Brazil? Food, music, daily life, anything. In the next step, we're shaping these little teardrops and getting ready for the crunch, because the coating technique is where a good coxinha becomes unforgettable. Now let's build the heart of the coxinha, the filling. If you've ever bitten into one that was dry and stringy, that's not the chicken's fault, it's the way it was treated. I like to start with cooked chicken thighs or breast that's still warm, because it shreds more softly and holds onto flavor better. I pull it apart with my fingers or two forks until it's in thin strands, not little cubes. Coxinha filling should feel like it melts and stretches a bit when you bite, not like it crumbles. In a pan, I warm a drizzle of oil and go in with finely chopped onion until it turns translucent and sweet. Then garlic, just until you smell it, nothing browned. This is where the kitchen starts to feel like a Brazilian afternoon: simple ingredients, but the aroma makes people wander in and ask, "What are you making?" I add tomato paste for depth, a pinch of smoked paprika if I want a subtle street food edge, and a splash of that same chicken broth. Then the shredded chicken goes in, and I let it absorb everything while I keep it moving, gently, so it stays moist. Here's the creamy part that changes everything. I stir in a spoonful of cream cheese or requeijo, just enough to bind the strands and make the filling glossy. Not soupy, not heavy, creamy. A handful of chopped parsley, a little black pepper, taste for salt, and I turn the heat off while it still looks juicy. The filling should cool before shaping, because hot filling melts the dough from the inside and makes you fight with it. And while that cools, let's talk about the dough, because this is the secret that makes Coxinha taste like Coxinha. The liquid base is chicken broth, not plain water, and that savory depth is what people recognize even before they know what it is. When the broth is hot, I add butter and seasoning, then pour in the flour and stir decisively until it becomes a smooth, unified mass that pulls from the pan. It's a little workout, but it's worth it. If you're enjoying the calm, step-by-step way we're doing this, give the video a like so I know to keep making recipes like this. And tell me in the comments, what's your biggest curiosity about Brazil? In the next step, we're shaping these coxinhas and getting that classic teardrop look without stress, and then comes the crunch. Now comes the part that looks simple until you do it once, shaping. I keep a small bowl of water nearby, because a slightly damp hand is the difference between a smooth coxinha and a dough that clings to your fingers. I pinch off a portion of dough while it's still warm and pliable, like soft modeling clay that smells faintly of chicken broth, and I roll it into a ball. Then I press my thumb right into the center, slowly opening a little cup. You'll feel the dough stretch and give. If it cracks, it's usually too cool or too dry, so I just warm it in my hands for a few seconds and keep going. I spoon in the filling, but I don't overstuff. There's a temptation to pack it like a suitcase, but Coxinha needs balance, enough creamy chicken to make the bite feel generous, and enough dough to protect it while it fries. I close the top by gathering the edges and pinching them together, sealing like you're closing a small pouch. Then I do the classic shape. I roll it gently between my palms, coaxing it into that little teardrop that Brazilians recognize from a mile away. It's funny, this shape is so iconic that, at parties back home, people spot the tray and start reaching before the host even finishes setting it down. Once they're shaped, I go straight to my go-to crunch insurance, double breading. First, a quick dip in a simple egg wash, then into fine breadcrumbs until it looks evenly coated, no bald spots. Then, yes, again, back into the egg and back into the crumbs. That second layer is what gives you that crisp shell that stays crisp, the kind that makes a soft crackle sound when you bite in. If you're enjoying this so far, leave a quick like, it helps more people find Brazilian recipes like this. And tell me in the comments, what's your biggest curiosity about Brazil? Food, music, daily life, anything. And if you want more calm, step-by-step Brazilian classics, subscribe, because the next moment is the one that decides everything, the oil temperature, and how to read it without guessing. Now comes the part that makes Coxinha feel like pure Brazilian comfort, shaping and breading. I keep a bowl of water nearby and lightly wet my fingertips, because this dough is soft and warm, and it loves to stick if you rush. I pinch off a portion about the size of a small lime, roll it into a smooth ball, and then press it into a little cup in my palm. The dough should feel supple, like modeling clay that still has a bit of steam in it. I spoon in the filling slowly, and this is where I always remind you, don't overfill. The temptation is real, because that creamy chicken smells so good, but too much filling will crack the dough, and then the oil will find its way in. I fold the edges up, sealing with gentle pressure, and then I shape it into that classic teardrop, rounded at the bottom, point at the top. In Brazil, you see that silhouette everywhere, behind bakery glass, lined up at parties, carried on napkins at street corners. It's simple, but it's iconic. For the crunch, I go with my favorite technique, a double breading that's still easy. First, the coxinha goes into a light dip of beaten egg, just enough to coat. Then straight into fine breadcrumbs until it looks evenly dressed, no bald spots. And then, yes, back into egg and back into breadcrumbs one more time. The second coat is what gives you that thicker, shattering crust that stays crisp longer, even after the steam from the filling starts to rise. While they rest, I set up the oil, and this is the make or break moment. If the oil is too cold, the coxinha drinks it and turns heavy. Too hot, and the outside goes dark before the inside warms through. I watch for that steady, confident sizzle, not violent, not timid. When it's right, the coxinha floats and starts to turn golden like it's sunbathing. If you're enjoying this calm, step-by-step way of cooking, leave a like so I know to bring more Brazilian classics. And tell me in the comments, what's your biggest curiosity about Brazil? In the next part, we're frying slowly, carefully, until that perfect golden crunch meets the creamy center, and I'll show you exactly what to look for as they come out of the oil. And that's the moment I wait for every single time. You lift the coxinha out of the oil, and it's that deep, even golden color, not pale, not too dark, just right. I set it on the rack and you can actually hear it, that gentle crackle as the crust starts to settle. This is what the double breading gives you, a shell that stays crisp, with a bite that snaps before it turns tender. Now comes the part that takes a little patience, but it's worth it. I let it rest for a minute so the inside finishes calming down, so you don't lose the filling to steam the second you open it. And when I break one in half, you see the contrast. The dough is soft and savory from the chicken broth, and the filling is creamy, shredded, and moist, no dry chicken, no sad, dusty center. It smells like a Brazilian bakery at the end of the afternoon, when people stop by just to grab one, and somehow leave with a bag. If your coxinha ever turns out heavy or oily, it's almost always the same culprit, oil that's not at the right temperature. Too cool, and the breading drinks oil like a sponge. Too hot, and it browns before the center warms through. So watch the bubbles, watch the color, and trust the rhythm. The goal isn't rushing, it's consistency. And that's really why coxinha feels so Brazilian. It's not a fancy, rare occasion food. It's everyday comfort you can hold in your hand. It's birthday parties, bus stops, quick lunches, bakery counters, and that little moment of pleasure when the crunch gives way to something creamy and familiar. If you enjoyed cooking along with me, leave a like. It helps this recipe reach people who miss that taste or want to discover it for the first time. And tell me in the comments, what's your biggest curiosity about Brazil? Food, traditions, music, daily life, what do you want to see next? If you want more Brazilian recipes and simple techniques that actually work, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.